Next up, we have a preservation on a Winchester 94. Haven't dated the model yet, but it's got some wear here, some bluing issues. At the end of the day, this shouldn't be too difficult a job, but it will look nicer when we're done. That's obviously the goal. So let's get it apart first and see what we can do here. Unlike some of the other ones with barnacles, this is a preventative and cleanup work, which is considerably less expensive for the end user, as well as turns out a finer, nicer product when it's all said and done. So hopefully we can get what we need that way. I'll go back to check the work order after we get this apart. Make sure we're all doing what we're supposed to be doing. Make sure I got an image there. Yeah, we're doing good. So, since it's a disassembly of a gun that I'm familiar with, I'm just going to start taking stuff out until I'm done, and then we'll go from there. If this was a less familiar gun, I would probably lay things out and be a lot more precise about it, but at the end of the day, it's a Winchester 94, and I see quite a few of these, and it's Marlin Cousins and the occasional Henry in here. But in order to do the preservation, we absolutely have to have all the pieces off the gun, because if there's any moving pieces and parts left on the gun, that'll create gaps and ultimately rust inside the gun that'll show up months or even years later after the process. So it's extremely important that we work with all the pieces of the bare metal that we can get our hands on, and go from there. So, just doing what's necessary to pop this thing apart right now. If you're not done a lever gun, if you're not familiar with them, it's probably not the first one you want to work on. That's actually the hammer screw. So, you know, these ones hold different parts on the inside end. So we're just going to start taking stuff apart. Ideally, if you get the hammer out, the bolt will come right out. That's what I was thinking before I started talking. I could take the spring off of it also. Matter of fact, I think I will. So there's a spring, and there's a spring tensioning screw. Again, we got to take these apart down to the springs and screws in order to do the restorations. So, you know, everything has to come out ultimately. That screwdriver's just not quite a perfect fit. I'm going to grab a couple of different ones. I'm going to grab one different one, and the other one's probably on one of the other benches. This is a thinner. Yeah, it's right down there. This is a case. I know some of my other videos, you'll see me mess up a screw head once in a while when they're really stuck. But this is a case where we really want to absolutely protect everything to the extent possible, because since it's just a preservation, we don't want to create more work for ourselves at the end of the day. That just takes all the fun out of making these look nice. Duh. Gotta knock that pin out first. Put the brass one in there. Lightweight hammers for starters. So far nothing's been really stuck. It's moving. It's a nice round head. Alright, we got it to move just a little, but I'm going to observe the right to left, left to right rule and knock it out left to right. There we go. I got it. Still in there a little bit tight. There we go. Clear that. And now that'll come out. And we get that out of the way. Falls out. I'll get the other side still in there. These other two screws out of the way. Oh, that looks nice and tight. Right screwdriver head, right size, full depth, has to be that way or you end up damaging things. And even then, sometimes you end up damaging things. Sure makes a difference when it works right though. Okay, there we go, there we go. Now we can get this off. That's in there kind of tight, huh? Alright, it might need a little bit of a percussive effort to get it out of there. The roller on that, you can see it's got some dried oil or even a little bit of rust on it. So definitely good to do this as a preventative measure on some of these older guns. It's just in there nice and tight. Alright. But we got vices for it. Just give it a little percussive effort. Should come right out. Don't recall anything will be holding it. Yeah, there we go. Blue. I'm going to get on the receiver because I took the front noses off, so it's coming loose. There we go. Boy, that just doesn't want to move today. I'm using a longer punch, mostly because I don't want to use the brass head. One thing, it hasn't been polished in a while, and for another thing, it doesn't really fit. I don't want to do any exterior. There we go. It's just in there good and tight. A little bit of surface rust on it. Not too bad. It'll come apart. Alright, so let's get the rest of this thing apart so we can get it in the boil. All these pieces and everything apart. held in with the old pins. Alright, well, yeah. Newer versions are held in with screws there. A little easier to get to. Modern designs being what they are. Well, that's got some junk on it. Come on. A little rust spot there too. Marlin. Looks like we're gonna have to get the front sight off there too. It's interesting to me how many different versions of Winchester 94 there are. There's subtle differences across the entire platform. We need to choke up on that a little more. And let's hit it with a tad bit of oil. We'll go ahead and hit the rear sight while we're at it. Alright. We'll come back to that. Okay, so we're good there. Pins. Get the rail guide pins out of there. That one's screwed. There. Cool. I thought that was only on newer ones. That makes life easier. That one's good. Okay. I'm not out of my mind. Too light. Okay. That does not want to move. That special screwdriver I got laying around somewhere for that. Let's go back and work on this front end a little. I can't get that loose. go. See if we can get that to tap out. Alright, we'll grab the other one from the other bench. Give it a nice stable platform to whack against. Get a sight picture out for that. We'll see. Get this other one out. Alright. Well, we got stronger vices too, so we'll try that before we get too crazy here. Getting a while back at these last couple of screws. And cause any damage. So we're going to sit on that for a few minutes. Oh hey, both those are screwed in. We're going to have to get a sideways screwdriver to take them out. Alright, probably have to do that off camera. Let's go ahead and get this rear sight screw out. In case you ever wanted to put a keep sight on a 94. Pretends it's a Sharps. Alright, we'll get the majority of that apart. We'll go ahead and get the trigger mechanism out while we're at it. vast majority of it's apart, we can start the cleanup process. We'll come back to those sites in a different vise that we can get a little more leverage on, and then those rail guides. I got to go find the right screwdriver for that. But in the interim, we can go ahead and get started cleaning this up and get her underway. Before all the internet trolls start yelling at me about not taking everything apart, there are still several pins to remove, which are going to be removed. But I am in the middle of losing battery, so I don't know how much in the video we're going to get to keep. So I'm going to knock a couple out while I can, just because I can. We'll get that one last screw, of course. We'll get the rest of this apart. Little latch pins in here, springs on the inside of them. Those areas will rust really bad if you don't get the pieces and parts out of them. Now that's going to be a three-handed operation with the vise. And the ejector and extractor pins on these are always a three-handed operation. So when I switch the action over to the big vise, I'm going to continue taking these apart. Just for right now, I didn't want it left unsaid that I was going to impart rust on the inside of somebody's rifle. These are a little on the tight side. I definitely need the bigger vise for this.